You didn't do the count, so.
I know. I'm a dick.
Something weird happened on my computer. I turned it on and it wouldn't go to the sign on screen. Then it said that I forgot my password, and I didn't because it's a fingerprint password, and I had to go through a whole bunch of rigmarole. We're talking about Americana, right?
Yeah. Americana, one of my favorite subjects. But
Oh,
before we
oh,
get
hold
into
on.
all that madness,
Hold on,
I want
hold
to.
on, hold on. I gotta plug my mic in.
I like your
Fuck.
background today. Obviously, you moved out of the basement. Now you're into a high rise. Where are you in Tokyo? I'm not really
I'm
sure
in
what city you're in.
Seattle.
Nice.
A little bit rainy.
Are you gonna riot?
You
Well, that's
know, I in Buffalo, and I took my computer and my microphone, my adapter thing, and I wonder if my computer got affected in the my bag because I also lost this thing. You see
the
the thing
dongle.
that.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. All's good now, and I am all ready whenever you are.
Well, just as a side note,
Hold on. Cover my drums. I'm wrecked today.
if we had our own radio show, we could incorporate the drum somehow into it.
I gotta throw a comforter over it, or else our voices travel and it makes the drums hiss.
Yeah, it's funny. I watch a lot of news, mostly financial news, and in today's day and age, a lot of people are interviewed from their homes and whatnot. So it's kind of cool from the standpoint of you get to see how all these people like what their houses look like or whatever image of their life they're trying to project onto the world. And some people have just their regular setup. Some of them you can tell they're in like a spare bedroom or a closet or
Yeah,
whatever the heck. And then you got people with like fancy bookshelves with books they probably never read and all kinds of
yeah.
cool
It
stuff.
always strikes me that there's people who are trying too hard.
Oh yeah,
You
there's always
know,
those people.
yeah. It's funny. I always I take such special notice of the backgrounds when people are being interviewed now.
Yeah, I
Uh,
try to read what books they have. I'm like, oh, I've read that book.
it kind of distracts me from what they're even talking about. I'm looking through their house, and
Well, and let's be clear. When you listen to what they're talking about, you almost wish you were distracted, right? Most of them, anyway.
I do notice. I watch CNBC sometimes in the morning, and I look at I check out their homes, and I'm thinking, God, these people have like I assume all this money, and I like my house better.
You'd be surprised that not that many people are as rich as I think we think. You know, like I've done okay in life, and I have a big family. Um, so there's like a perception that once you start making a couple bucks, that like you're on easy street. Like I've had relatives like, well, you're just rich because you got lucky. And again, I don't consider myself rich because there are literally millions of people who have a shit ton more money than me. Um, but like again, it's all relative. A guy that's living hand to mouth in a, my one brother used to live in someone's garage, and compared to him, I am on easy street. Let's be clear. But a lot of people probably don't have that much money, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
You could not have a lot of money and have good design sense, though.
Exactly. Or you could just like dial in from Seattle with the cool background.
Yeah.
I like speaking of Americana, I noticed you like to wear a lot of sweaters. Are you a sweater? Do you consider yourself a sweater guy?
Uh, I like I like sweaters and jeans and boots. I mean, that's pretty much my everyday
Go-to?
get up because it's always fucking cold.
That's true. I actually I'm kind of like how people have bucket lists and they have like lists of whatever. So I used to have anti-list, if you will, of things that I will never do or don't want. And like, for instance, I used to tell people I will never step foot in Walmart. Mostly because, not because of like all the white trash that shops there, although you could probably throw that in for good measure, but mostly because, the Walton family, so fucking rich, and all they did was consolidate and steal business from every mom and pop, Twin Fair and Two Guys and all those other fun little stores like Woolworths and the places we used to steal stuff from.
Main Street.
Huh?
Main Street.
Well, it's, in my business, we used to call it a roll up, where people with the money would come in and just buy up all the little guys and fucking put them out of business. Right? It's been going on forever. I mean, it's going on in healthcare now, but wow, we're getting way too political for this conversation. I better tap my own brakes, huh?
So anyway, were sweaters on your never list?
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was going with the story. Thank you. So,
you can't.
I told this girl one time, though, check this out. This is my only story, and then we can move on. I was dating this girl a long time ago, and I said, I fucking hate sweaters. I don't wear them. Don't ever buy me a sweater, right? And Christmas was impending. What did she do? She went out and bought me 4 fucking sweaters. 4. And they were all awful, cheap ones that you would get at like a Kmart or one of those stores we were just talking about.
See, I am a sweater guy, but I'm very, it has to be the right sweater. It has to be like a fisherman's sweater,
Mm-hmm.
Yada, yada,
grandma knitted for you.
I probably would never wear one if I lived in North Carolina.
Well, I mean, it's kind of cold here today. I have a big Lebowski sweater.
What's cold?
I mean, it's like 40 degrees.
Oh, God, that's short weather here.
I mean, that's funny because I wear shorts and I get criticized by maniacs. I'm like, really? I'm from the frozen tundras of Buffalo. Leave me alone. This is. I wash my balls in colder water than this.
It's 28 degrees here right now.
Yeah. Dude, I ran a marathon in 19 degrees in Columbus, Ohio. And what's funny is I was layered up for this marathon, and it wasn't very windy. So that's kind of, that makes all the difference in the world. And it was dry, too. So 2 pluses to that 1 minus. But here's where I'm going. I got probably 3 layers on. I'm comfortable. I'm jogging a nice 10-minute mile pace. I'm fucking having a good time. Who runs by me? Some old fat man in basically a singlet. You know what that is? It's like a Speedo of the runner world. Huh?
I know what singlets are.
Yeah. He's got no shirt on. He's like 65 years old, a little fat, a little droopy, no shirt, and just these little running shorts. And he's like, hey, young man, I'm beating 4 hours. Come with me. And I'm like, you just go. I'm going to keep running, you fucking maniac. So I don't know what's wrong with people, but that's all part of what our topic today is, Americana. What makes foreigners love us and hate us? Why do we love and hate it? And just some of the things that make up Americana. And I'm going to let you take, hear Americana, what does that mean to you?
Are we recording?
Yeah, I've been recording for like 10 minutes, buddy. I told you that.
You didn't tell me. Americana.
You didn't say anything bad.
Americana. I have many images that come to my mind when I hear Americana, but I also, at this point in time, wonder just how much Americana exists anymore. What
does that mean? No.
Well, here's when I think of Americana, I think of things that are truly American, like amusement parks, boardwalks, the automobile, from the 50s and 60s and 40s.
Yep.
The blues.
Yep.
Even country music, though I'm not a fan.
Yeah, but what about like NASCAR? That's fucking Americana.
Yeah, and again, I think that maybe you'd associate that with automobiles. It's an automobile culture.
That's true.
And I'm sure where you are in North Carolina, it has a bigger presence. Yeah. You know what I've found to be an exceptionally huge symbol of Americana is the French fry.
Yeah.
I tried. I got to a point where I was so sick of French fries. I could not eat another fucking French fry. So I tried to, I tried to kick French fries. And I think I made it to like 3 months. And do you know how hard that is in America? You go anywhere to any restaurant in America, it doesn't matter what you order, maybe with the exception of spaghetti, everything comes with fucking French fries.
Yep.
So I'd have to make up my own side, and it's extreme. They're probably the most omnipresent thing in America right now, besides
Yeah.
stupidity.
Let me throw you for a loop.
Stupidity is Americana.
I agree. My wife loves sweet potato fries. Where do you land on that?
No. I mean, if you're gonna have fries, just have fries. I like steak fries.
We get them all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. We just sweet potatoes everywhere. She buys them for the home. But you know what? They're healthier.
I like sweet potatoes.
Evidently. And my kids love them.
I have about 2 sweet potatoes a week, but I don't like sweet potato fries.
Yeah, I usually pass. I usually get a side salad in my quest to be healthy.
Yeah.
But then I lather it up with lots of dressing, so just kind of zeroes it out. There's more fat in the dressing than there is in the fries.
But I think going back to my question about how much Americana exists. Nowadays I see a lot of abandoned amusement parks, and I just wonder how, and our automobiles aren't, they look like they're manufactured now in a Pringles factory. Everything,
yeah,
every car is the same, I wonder how much technology has replaced truly American.
I mean, you can look at it from the angle of when I'm sitting on a highway, whether it's Garden State Parkway or it's 95 or it's 101 in the San Francisco Bay Area, and you're in 4 hours of traffic, and the dude next to you is in a $120,000 Porsche or a Lamborghini or some other shit, and you're in your whatever, your Ford Prius. Does Ford make a Prius? I don't know. It doesn't matter. You get my point? Like, we're all going nowhere. So back to the point of the tin box, like, what difference does it fucking make? It's it's just a vehicle to get you from A to B. Whereas back in the day, it was a symbol of American freedom, ingenuity. Right. And to me, it's artwork. Like, I used to have a convertible 67 Lincoln Continental, and it was pretty beat up when I got it. I found somebody and I paid him a bunch of money to gentrify it.
Yeah.
And then I sold it off. Now, did I make money on that? No. But it was a passion project for me because I brought that thing back to its, day one quality. And that was important to me. And that's when I think of Americana, I look at that Lincoln not as a car that might get me to the store and go get groceries or take my kid to soccer. I'm like, this is fucking artwork. This is
beautiful. You're right. It is artwork, and it's in the car you choose to drive is an expression of who you are, I think, and the same way like the way you dress, and so I think that's why it matters in terms of going back to nowadays all the vehicles are the same. It. Again, and there's the whole fuel economy and environment and things like that are playing roles. You'd probably be spit on if you drove a hulking vehicle like they used to produce in the 70s.
Right.
So, but there's part of the culture that gets lost, and that's so I question. At least in terms of what pops into my head when I think of Americana, I want it doesn't seem like much of what I view as Americana exists anymore.
like I watch that show occasionally, Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives, and
That
I
is
like it.
Americana.
I like it for that purpose. For that, like
Right.
you go to these mom and pop restaurants, and a lot of them are ethnic. They got foods from all around the world, which again, that to me is Americana. Is everyone has a story in America. They're always from somewhere else, unless you're Native American, but they have their stories too. And I think that's like the coolness of our culture, um, is to share in that. Like we just had St. Patrick's Day, right? Where, you know, Irish people, everyone wants to either be Irish or have an Irish friend because the Irish are considered like a lot of fun, or, you know, they like to party or whatever.
Right.
But I mean, you and I both have Irish heritage, and we love sharing that with the world,
Except the
right?
irony there is, and maybe St. Patrick's Day is a weird form of Americana because in Ireland there isn't a St. Patrick's Day, at least not the way it's celebrated here.
Right.
You know.
I mean, but again, it's like you take it, it's like anything else, a generation, you know, nothing's new in this world. It's just we take what we learned, we make it our own, and then we hand it off to the next generation to do whatever they're going to do with it. You know, whether it's music, like you brought up the blues, right? And that was created somehow in the South or, you know, Louisiana, right? I mean, I don't know the history of it, but I love jazz music and I'll listen to it and I'll listen to the blues. Um, but that is
Jazz.
something that's very American, right?
Jazz is supposedly the quintessential American music.
Right.
Yeah.
But even that had its bases in a bunch of different cultures melded together.
Right. So what is Americana to you?
I mean, it's all those things, but to me, like I wrote a quick list from movies to places to visit, like Big Sur or, you know, Grand Canyon kind of stuff, our food, because again, it's American, which just means it's got pieces of every part of the world, hopefully kind of combined into some kind of, you know, whole being greater than the sum of the parts thing. Our music, um, our idiot consumerism that drives everyone to work like maniacs so we can be better than the rest of the world and all that crap or whatever people think. Um, and our sports. I mean, look at right now. You got the NCAA tournament. Every idiot and their brother, and I mean that with affection, is got their own, you know, oh, I gotta do my Final Four thing, and you know, blah
The
blah blah, and
bracket.
I'm gonna win this year. Are you doing a bracket?
No, I don't know basketball at all. Every time I've done those, and I do them every now and then, every when the tournament rolls around. It's just, wild guesses. I don't know who these teams are.
Right.
I don't
But you
follow
just went to
basketball.
Kentucky. Hold on, let me ask you something. You just went to Kentucky. Do you watch the Kentucky Derby and do you bet on it ever?
No, I went to Kentucky to do a story about thoroughbred racing, the thoroughbred racing industry, and a guy I know who was buying his first thoroughbred. And it was a pretty fascinating world and pretty weird world. And
Yeah.
it was a great thing to write about and to see up close. But, I live not too far from Saratoga, the famous track. And, I kind of, I'm personally, I'm morally opposed to the whole thoroughbred scene for reasons. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. But no,
Right.
I don't bet on or watch the Derby.
Right on. Right on.
But the Kentucky Derby, there's Americana for you.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I brought it up. You know, I'm going to do our quote mid stride today, but it comes from an Irish writer who I'm sure you're aware of, James Joyce.
Yes.
Um, and the quote is, "In the particular is contained the universal." Now, Joyce was known for like making these stories, right, that were just really deeply ingrained, and he could just from nothing pull out this amazing story from seeming like leftover spare people or spare parts, right? Like the Dubliners.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the universality of telling a story is everyone on this planet has a shared history and heritage. And we need these, from a psychological perspective, this is what any psychiatrist will tell you. is that we need these types of culture experiences to pull us together or give us a way to relate to each other. So it's deeply ingrained in man and our symbols and the way we express ourselves to the world and the way we interpret the world, with every person we meet. I mean, it's kind of fucked up when you think about it. But as much as you and I could make fun of the Derby or that it's cruelty to animals, and all those things are valid for sure. There's something about it though that pulls you. Everyone right now is watching NCAA in the United States. Like, think of the millions of people, not just the money that's being generated out of it, but just how the togetherness. It's bringing everyone together for hopefully just I'm just gonna say a positive experience or an outcome. Make sense?
Yeah. I mean, my college is in the tournament right now, and they're playing today, as a matter of fact. And I got a message from a group of people who wanted to sponsor a bus from Buffalo to Rochester to watch the game at this bar that a fellow alumnus owns. And you're right, it's an excuse to get together, bring people together and yada yada.
I mean, I take my kid, and my wife never understood my whole affinity for that Lincoln, right? But I go to car shows, and they have a lot of them around here. And I'll walk around and talk to the old guys that built these things themselves and listen to their stories for hours. And again, there are people that say that's stupid. That's like a total waste of time. And to me, I'm like, I just had the greatest day ever. I ate a hot dog, ate a bunch of popcorn.
Yeah, fast food is Americana, and McDonald's is Americana. And I used to live in a neighborhood where every Friday night during the summer at the McDonald's near my house, people who owned old cars and vintage cars, muscle cars, would park them all in the McDonald's parking lot.
Yep.
And they'd have their hoods up and blah, blah, blah. And they would just sit there for hours in lawn chairs with their cars all lined up. And, people off the street could pull over and go look at the cars and get lost in talking to people about their cars. And, so, I mean, that was a whole bunch of Americana right there. Fast food, McDonald's, vintage cars.
Yep. It never changes. I'm telling you, like, I was getting gas one time with the Lincoln. And so I'm sitting there pumping the gas, and some old guys came walking up. Out from nowhere. And next thing you know, I got the hood popped open. We're talking about the engine and what year. And, and then one guy's like, oh, my daddy was a Cadillac man. He never liked a Lincoln. I'm like, whatever, And then there's just, again, a 15-minute ride to fill up turned into about a 2-hour just hangout session with people I didn't even know. And quite frankly, never saw again.
Yeah, my grandfather always drove Cadillacs,
Oh, really?
And he drove nothing but Cadillacs. And the funny thing is, he was a working man, and but he only drove Cadillacs. And when he was alive, and during the years I was alive, the Cadillacs then were those big hulking, vehicles with the fins.
Yep.
And I remember when he died, my father inherited his Cadillac, and it was this big, gaudy aqua blue. I mean, it was just it wasn't my father, but it was totally my grandfather. And it was an expression of, the car being, who he was. And, speaking of cars in Kentucky, and I think another thing that's Americana is the road trip.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm always up for a road trip still, I'm dying to do a cross-country road trip.
I'll go with you.
I really
I've been trying to do one for a long time myself.
Yeah.
So I will go with you. Yeah. You know how I love to drive.
Yeah. Yeah, I can remember. I can remember some of the adventures on the road.
I've driven 12 hours without stopping.
Oh,
I mean, not stopping like I stopped to fill up gas and take a leak and crap.
I drive constantly. I put a ton of miles on my cars. I'm driving all the time.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
love it.
bother doesn't bother me at all. My father used to love to drive, and I inherited that, I think, from him.
I actually thought I was going to be a trucker. Remember when truckers, like that was the thing, like BJ and the Bear and
Yeah.
Convoy and some of those, and Smokey and the Bandit.
You ever watch Ice Road Truckers?
Yeah,
I never
totally
really
was.
knew what that was, but my daughter is her her man is Canadian, and he lived in this really remote section of Canada with his parents when he was growing up, and he was telling me the other day that where he lived, the road in Canada literally ended. Like you couldn't go, like the road, you drove down the road and it just stopped, and there was a lake, and you couldn't go anywhere until it froze over. And they were so far up there that like you could drive to the next town only when the lake was frozen, and
Hmm.
it was frozen from like September, he said, to May. And it never really dawned on me that that's those. And he was talking about the truckers, and like it never dawned on me that that's really what those ice road truckers are driving on.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not a road,
right.
because I don't watch the show. I'll watch like minutes of it here and there,
Yeah.
as I'm switching around. But that freaked me out. Like they're literally driving on lakes. They're driving on water.
Well, you
That's
can
just
drive on Lake Erie if you're stupid enough, right?
right. But I guess this lake is like, it's Canada. It's frozen solid.
Yeah.
It's called the area is called Pickle Lake. I slipped on a pickle.
It always comes back to that, doesn't it?
Ah,
That's great.
always will.
Yeah, the Great American Road Trip is definitely up there. But then what about like literature? I mean, we have some great American writers.
Great American writers who probably wouldn't get published if they were starting out today in this atmosphere, but the way the industry is now. But yeah, Norman Mailer and J.D. Salinger and Mark Twain. Well, he's from a different era, but
It's
Ernest
funny. I tried to
Hemingway.
read Tom Sawyer with my son. It
Yeah,
was like a little thing. Him and I would sit down and take turns reading like chapters.
um,
About halfway through it, I quit 'cause I'm like, I'm so bored reading this book,
yeah.
and I hate to say it.
I never dug that book.
Yeah,
John Steinbeck is probably the quintessential Americana symbol of Americana when it comes to literature.
you
I
like
remember
that
reading
Beatles
something in
song,
the New
"Ghost
York
of Tom
Times.
Joad"?
I
Huh?
remember something in the New York Times about 20 years ago where they compared, where they said Bruce Springsteen was the America's new John Steinbeck.
I don't know, man. I like old Bruce when you could believe in him, but like now he's hawking jeeps and getting drunk and riding his motorcycle.
That's Americana.
He's more like one of us now.
Uh,
He should give away more of that fucking $500 million he has. I mean, when I hear those guys talk about high times on Wall Street and all that shit, ask him what he pays his fucking roadies. Come on.
I don't know.
Exactly. I bet he took well advantage of that fucking minimum wage. Anyway, I digress.
Anyway,
I still loved the boss. I loved his music. That used to be Americana to me. Uh, and when I was a kid, man, I don't know. It gave me a lot of something, a lot to look forward to. I love listening to that motherfucker's music. So
I could listen to Downbound Train on constant loop for an entire day. It's the greatest depressing song on the planet, in my opinion.
you know what's funny? Did you watch Breaking Bad? Did you watch that show at all?
I did not.
So I'll make it quick. Um, One of the main evil bad guys uh, was a cartel member, but he had a front of like these chicken fast food joints, very
Yep.
Americana. But also it was called Los Pollos Hermanos, the Chicken Brothers. Well, he got blown up at the end. Spoiler alert. And the
Spoiler
first thing I
alert.
said to myself when I was watching him after he got blown up, it was a really cool scene, right? But he had half of his face blown up and he like stumbles out of this room and dies. And I'm like, well, they blew up the chicken, man. And I just started laughing. I'm like, did they steal that from Bruce? Like, I
That's
don't
a
know.
Bruce reference.
Pretty fucking funny. Anyway,
Anyway.
are we ready to put a fork in this? We're about 30 minutes in, brother. Good talk
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Bruce was not the smartest man in the room today.
No,
Unlike
but you know what? The Ghost of Tom Joad, I hated it when I first heard it because I just thought, look at him groveling and trying to make money off John Steinbeck. But then when he brought in Tom Morello,
yeah,
I could listen to that rendition
that fucker
all
tears
day and
it up.
night. Back to your point.
I was gonna say that if you didn't. The rendition with Tom Morello, fucking
I
bliss.
can't listen to it. I get teary, man. I won't lie. I get like choked up. You know how I like to fucking sing.
You know, Tom
I'll
Morello.
try to sing with him, and I'm like, I get all weepy.
Tom Morello's the man. Let's say that Tom Morello is the smartest guy in the
I'll
room
go with
today.
that. And he fucking plays a mean ass guitar, brother.
Fuck, that's Americana.
All right. Good
All right.
talk. Take care, buddy.
Stay free, brother.
Yes, sir. Bye.